The Jeff Bezos divorce saga started out clean and considered. The media release was even aggressively amicable, if there's such a thing. But things have gone downhill for the world's richest man.
Yeah, they certainly have. The Amazon chief is now in a deep battle with the National Enquirer, who he has accused of extortion over the potential publication of nude photos. They say the photos call into question his judgment and so are in the public interest. For tonight's Taking Stock, we're joined by Brett Campbell, founder of the social media advertising agency Campbell Media Group, and Scott Phillips, Chief Investment Officer at the Motley Fool. Thank you both for being with us. This is all that old question of interesting to the public versus in the public's interest. You know what I mean? This comes up a fair bit. Brett, I might start with you. What have you thought following this story of the Bezos, what started out pretty amicable and now it's just sort of doglegging down?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, Jeff clearly isn't having a good day with the Woody Harrelson thing that we just outlined.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I think there's two real major pillars at key here with this story. Number one is there's the atrocity of him obviously getting caught cheating on his wife, or not getting caught, actually cheating on his wife, right? That's story number one. Number two here, what I'm seeing is this story of blackmail where American media is basically what they've done is they have said to Jeff Bezos, who, Jeff Bezos being a very powerful man, a lot of money in his back pocket, he created an investigation based off this, because American media brought it to the world that he'd been caught cheating, and basically now Jeff Bezos called their bluff. He has published on a blog yesterday on Medium the entire email chain and conversation that American media have been having with them, where basically American media now are pulling back, saying, look, stop saying that we are connected to political ties with Donald Trump and so forth, and we'll remove the images and we won't tell anyone about these images. And Jeff Bezos was like, here you go, I'm just going to put it online myself. Even outlined all the different types of images that were involved, one of them being a below-the-waist selfie. Just call it what it is, it's a dick pic, right?
Yeah.
I'm more concerned probably about, Jeff, you're a very smart man. Knowing what you know about business in the online world, why are you taking those photos to start with?
Well, that's the question, isn't it, about the judgment,
Maybe there's another theory at play here. Maybe he wants that photo out. I don't know.
Is this just a slanging match of the highest order? Is that what it is? Is this just a bit of biffo but happening in a sort of a different realm?
This is kind of the problem, right? There's so many different parts. As we were saying, there's kind of the elements of, the Post, of course, that he owns, the National Enquirer, which has been accused of being pro-Trump, the Post, of course, and Bezos himself, notoriously anti-Trump. That whole thing going on in the background. The security chief now looking into who leaked the details of the affair. Maybe it was Lauren Sanchez's brother now, so the lady who he's had an affair with. It gets really messy really quickly. To your point, Chris, about public interest versus interesting the public, it's obviously worth a lot of money because they've paid a lot of money to do this investigation. They know it's going to get eyeballs, clicks, advertising dollars, all that kind of good stuff. Is it the public interest? I don't think so. I don't really see how it reflects on his ability to run Amazon. And even again, in the public interest, he's not a politician, right? So it's even one step removed. Maybe it's in Amazon shareholders' interest. I'm an Amazon shareholder for what it's worth. I kind of don't care what he does in his spare time as long as he runs the company well. And so I can't get the public interest element of this. Are we titillated by the idea? Probably. Do we really need to see it? I don't think so. Surely it's left in the bedroom and just kind of keep it away.
Yeah, that's why it seems personal, like a smear campaign rather than something that is about, getting clicks and getting eyeballs on a story, because I don't think the interest in his private life is that great, or that...
I still think it's not relevant. That's the problem, right?
It has no bearing on his ability to run a company.
I think the most important thing at play here is what people aren't seeing is Amazon itself, from a professional perspective, they had their best profitable year ever, right? So, is it affecting his game and how to run the business? I don't see it.
Well, that's his point, right? He's like, I'm letting my track record speak for itself here. This interest and this constant close focus on his personal life, especially after a divorce, does that naturally come with the territory of being the world's richest person?
Well, I guess sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, right? And you look at it in Hollywood A-list celebrities. They're on every magazine and most of the stories aren't real. And I guess it sort of comes with the territory. I personally don't agree with it. I think what stays in the bedroom should stay in the bedroom. What it can do, I guess, if you look at another story there where Elon Musk got smoking marijuana on Joe Rogan's podcast, the shares of Tesla at the time did drop, but they regained. I don't think this is going to affect Amazon overall at all.
It is a bit of a grey area, isn't it, in terms of what the shareholders want to know about, I guess.
The shareholders just want money in their back pocket. They want his photos
The issue's been here, is, as we said at the top, because it's been such an amicable separation between him and his wife, that whether this sort of salacious stuff going out could tarnish the good faith agreement that they have, and therefore, because she owns half the business, that whether she may react angrily. But it doesn't. It seems like it was well and truly something that they'd let pass between them.
Absolutely. It certainly had tongues wagging, that one, and probably will continue to do so. Moving on, a new productivity hack is sweeping Wall Street. It's called the 1-3-5 rule, and it involves writing a list of 9 things to do every day. 1 big thing, 3 medium-sized things, and 5 small things. What do you think? Is this likely to work? Scott Phillips, what do you think?
Chris, you know from my normal Mondays with Shivani and yourself and Brooke that this tends to be not my forte. But I've got to say, I looked at that one, I thought, that's actually not a bad way to do it. If you think about to-do lists, chunking them down like that and kind of getting them in that order, I kind of like the idea. It's something I would try, as much as I'm not a big fan of the fads and the kind of, there's always a work productivity hack, right? New week, new hack. It's all that story. And someone, you get up at 4 o'clock, but then exercise till 9 and meditate for 4 hours. And I don't know. There's got to be 36 hours in the day to get these things done. But I have to say, that does seem to me, it appeals to part of me, which is like 1 big thing, 3 medium things, 5. That's kind of achievable, right? And you do get a sense of getting some stuff done. I quite like it. I might give it a go.
Hey, big. That is big.
Don't tell Shivani.
Okay, all right, I won't.
It's also what you classify as big, little and small, isn't it?
That's a very good point.
And that's the thing, that's the problem that we have at play here, because this is a topic that I'm pretty passionate about, is how do you get more done in less time. And, in the research for my latest book, where I wanted to be able to help people improve how do you get more done in less time, how do you work on the things that are more impactful to what's currently happening. And I see this 1-3-5, smell a book deal coming out here. That's what I'm smelling on the horizon. But the biggest issue that I have with that when I look at that is I go, how do you then classify what is 3, medium, 5, small? Then your productivity is supposed to make you more effective. It's not supposed to make you sit there and go, now I don't know what's medium, what's small. Oh no, I've got 3 big things I need to do today and no medium or small. Where does that fit in the pipeline? Well, I'll have to wait for the next day. I just think it becomes more overwhelming. In all the study and research that I've done in productivity and human performance is the majority overwhelming response is keeping it simple. Start with 1, 2, 3 topics, things that you've got to get done today. One thing that I will say that helped me immensely and a lot of my students in this space is at the end of each day, you've got to do a brain dump. You've just got to let every thought out of your mind, everything that you think you need to do, because the majority of what you think you need to do is just not going to matter in the overall scheme of things.
So that's at the end of the day. So you're saying maybe it's counterweighted to talking to yourself and talking to your schedule at the end of the day?
I'm a big planner of planning your next day before you go to bed at night, because I don't know about you, but running multiple businesses, I would be laying in bed going, oh, I've got to do that. Oh, that's right, I've got to do that tomorrow. I've got to do that tomorrow too. And next thing I'm on my iPhone, I'm writing that in as a note and I'm trying to schedule it, and it just becomes overwhelming. You don't get a good night's sleep. You wake up. Productivity should be about how are you showing up as a person, right? It shouldn't be about how many things can I get knocked down. What's the intention that you're putting into the tasks that you have?
I just think it's a fancy way of saying list, and we've all got one of those every day.
I'm going to try that one. That's great.
Now, a Scottish couple have copped the full weight of online finger-wagging after their GoFundMe campaign to raise money to pay for their wedding went viral. They spent a year saving, but are only 2/3 of the way to the final bill, asking for donations for the wedding. Was this always going to backfire? I think it would have. What do you reckon?
Oh, it's one of those stories that could have gone either way. To some degree, it's the whole wedding list, wedding registry thing. We've all been through that palaver of, what do you put on the gift registry? You get 15 dessert serving platters that you don't really want, all that kind of stuff. I kind of get to some level of pragmatism of doing that. It kind of does stick in my craw a little bit, right? If you're going to invite someone to the wedding and say, actually, rather than give me a gift, would you help pay for what you're coming for? It's almost like sending out an invoice for the wedding. Right? You can come, but you've got to pay us 40 quid to get in the front door. It's kind of not exactly like that, but it's not miles away when you think about that. If everyone was to take that to some degree of account, if 1/3 of the wedding's going to be paid for by the guests, it's kind of like, well, you've got to pay for your own dessert and maybe a couple of drinks to make it through the door.
But you already pay to go to a wedding, don't you?
Well,
it's not free, is it?
No.
I eloped. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, myself and my wife, we eloped. I asked her to marry me, and in 4 days we got married.
Oh, amazing.
Over in America, of course, but then we had to put on a big party, and I should have asked the guests to turn up with alcohol, right, instead of putting it on. But I think with this topic, what people aren't seeing is GoFundMe is a site where you can go on and just put something up there to raise money, right? They actually have an area on their website for newlyweds. So, I mean, they're only using the tool for what it's provided for. You know, people are getting angry about them trying to get their friends, because the purpose of this was they wanted to use GoFundMe as a platform to basically send to their friends, not to the big wide world. They weren't asking for tens of thousands of dollars here. And one unhappy person would have read and go, damn it, I didn't get my wedding for free. I had to pay for my wedding. So now she's gone a big hailstorm out there into the ether of what we call the internet. And you know, I think there's more things to be worried about. There's a GoFundMe where a gentleman, middle age, he was going bald, and he put a GoFundMe up there because he was going bald and he wanted some hats, so he got $100 and people funded it. There was another lady who wanted a spiritual journey around the world, $30,000. Someone gave her $5, said you should probably get a job, but good luck. And there was another gentleman, young guy, 21-year-old. He had a great night out with his friends. He passed out, woke up to an $8,000 bar tab. He's like, how do I pay it? I'm going to GoFundMe. So there's other things to be concerned about.
That is so
the universe provides. You know?
So that's charitable donations to somebody who's gotten pissed and run up a big bar tab. I'm so confused.
I'm going to try that this weekend, I think.
Wow. Maybe we're the ones who are missing out, right? Maybe they've got it right, and we're sitting here pouring scorn on this thing when we could be making a fortune.
I might just ask for the $8,000 in advance for my bar tab. And then,
that's a good idea.
And then the record, I wasn't the bloke with the hat too. Just so we're clear about that.
And Chris, how are you paying for your wedding?
Yeah, GoFundMe. Anybody out there wants to throw in some money? The hat's going around. No, this is the thing though. Like, I think what they've said is that we spent a year putting all of our wages into this. You know, we've sold belongings for this wedding, and I just think the thing that you're totally in charge of when it comes to your wedding is the scale of the thing.
Yeah, maybe they over-anticipated what the wedding dress would cost, and you know, there's people saying they should downsize. I say, look, they're being resourceful. I like people who are resourceful. They could sit on their bum and do nothing and cry and go, this, you know, the old entitlement attitude. No, they're using a platform that's available to each and every one of you. Get out there and use it.
So good luck to him, Brett says.
Yeah, go for it.
I love it. All right, that's great. Brett Campbell.
Nothing better than love, right?
Exactly. Brett,
Especially when it's free.
$8,000 bar tab.
Yes, exactly. Run it up. GoFundMe is there to catch you when you fall, apparently. I love it. All right, Scott Phillips, Brett Campbell, thank you very much for taking us through some of these interesting stories that we've liked today.